Hey everyone, I want to show you a tool that I've created which creates an index from a YouTube video with generative AI. So consider this. If you want to learn something, you can get a book, and right at the back of the book there's the index where you can search and find relevant keywords so that, for example, this book is Conversation Design by Erica Hall. If I wanted to find out about Google, then right here there's Google. It says on page 35 there's documents, or page 90 you can find out about Google Home, and so on. So many terms here, and so as a researcher or a student, I can very quickly jump to the relevant information I need with a book's index. With video, we don't have that. Here's a video I produced a few years ago, just scanning it from the top level shows me nothing about the information within. In YouTube, you can provide a description. It's also possible to chapterize your video, which I haven't done here, but you could have various chapters which tell you, here's the introduction, here's where I talk about atmospheric sound, and so on. That's very low level information. It's not detailed. So I find that if I'm researching information for an article, or if I'm trying to learn something, then with a document like a book, I can use the index and very quickly jump to the information I'm looking for. However, with a video, it's much more time consuming. I'm limited by the linear nature of video, and this is, it's nothing to do with YouTube. This is just video in general, and it also applies to other linear media like audio, like podcasts and audiobooks and so on. If I'm trying to find relevant information from a video, what can I do? I can look for chapters. If none exist, I can randomly skim through it and try and jump to the relevant place in the hope that I will find information that's relevant to me. Or YouTube has transcripts, not for all videos, but for many of them, especially those with voiceover. So I can find the transcript and skim through that. But again, that's just a little bit quicker than watching the video itself. Or I could download the transcript and upload it to Gemini to try and query it. But again, that's a lot of work to do, especially if I'm not even sure if the relevant information I'm looking for is actually within the video. So this is what I wanted to address. And so I created this tool, YouTube Video Index Creator tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the tool in action. But first, here's an example of an output of the tool. So right here on the screen, at the top, there is the topic summary, basically a very quick one-paragraph summary of what's in the video. And then you can see there's an index below it. This is actually an earlier version, so what it now produces is alphabetized, just like a book's index. And so, this video was focused on SpaceX. So as you can see, the terms here are all related to the terms that are discussed in the video, which have been obtained from the transcript. So the user gets a summary and they get an index, and that index includes every appearance of that term within the video. And these are all clickable links. So, if I was trying to find out if certain information was in a video, I would get this summary and index. And just by looking at that, I can tell if the information I'm looking for is in the video. And then I can click on a link and very quickly jump to that information in the video to check it, to learn from it, to experience it. I don't have to waste time trying to understand if information is in a video. This gets me there much quicker. So let me show you it in action. Here is the first code cell. I'm going to hit play on that. So what it's doing is it is installing the YouTube transcript API and the Google generative AI. Oops, jumped to the end. I'll come to that in a moment. So it's basically installing an API for downloading YouTube transcripts, and then it's going to want to interact with Gemini because I've got some prompts running here. So it fetches transcripts. It needs the video ID in order to do that. It needs generative AI, and also, this is in Kaggle, so it's using a secret for the API key. And then there's a function called, which is to extract the video ID from the URL. And then it's also downloading a transcript from that video from YouTube. And finally, another function called for the prompt on Gemini. And so, all of this is on Kaggle. I'm not going to talk about every single line of code here, but I'm going to come to the prompt. This is the initial prompt. And what I've done here is I've followed Google's process for defining the persona, the context, the task, and given examples. So it starts with the persona. You're an expert librarian. I felt that was most relevant to a use case where we are creating indexes in the style of a books index. And in this initial paragraph, it also gives context. It defines the persona, but it says, you have a broad understanding of subjects and excellent general knowledge. You know how different topics relate to each other. That is the context of the task, and also it's the persona. The task, I'm giving you a transcript. I want you to analyze it, think deeply, and tell me what is the primary overarching topic being discussed in the video. And then it gives examples. So I've already run that, and what it does is it asks for a YouTube URL. So I will just collect that. I'm going to get it from the share link. Copy. You do not want start at ticked. If it's ticked, untick it, because that will cause an error. I will paste that in and just wait. It said transcript data is not in the expected format, which is okay, because it still managed to download it. There's, the code deals with that if the transcript is not in the expected format. And it gives a quick summary. So as I said, it's my video on YouTube right here about sound worlds. It's like an idea for how with voice assistants such as Google Home, it was possible to enhance voiceovers with extra sounds. Anyway, that was what the video was about. And so we get a quick summary based off the transcript, which you can read here, but I don't need to go into that right now. So that's the first part. There has been a prompt which has looked at the transcript and summarized it. That's basically created a grounding for the tool to continue further. So we're going to create an index. That's the point of this tool. So now let's look at what happens next. So I'm going to hit play here. Oh, it's already done. So from that transcript, we're going to extract keywords. Those keywords would form the basis of an index, just like this example here. Consider these all to be the keywords, and then of course there's the place to find them within the text. And that's an example from a book. So in my system, it takes those keywords based on the topic and the transcript, provides a list which is alphabetized, and then it states the number of times that keyword appears in the text. Obviously, that's not a final index. That's just a starting point. And then it goes further, which I've already run. So here, it takes this list, which is the index, which is alphabetized with keywords and the amount of times they appear. So now it takes that further, and instead of including the amount of times that each keyword appears, it includes the actual place the actual start time within the YouTube video where that keyword appears. So as you can see, that becomes something which I can actually use. So if, for example, cooking appears twice in that video, now we're going to get each start time within the video where the word cooking appears. And so I've run it. It's also removing multiples of a keyword. You know, sometimes somebody in a video will say the same word quite a few times rapidly, and that's not so useful to someone who wants to find information. They only need the first of those appearances. So what I've done is created a condition where within the prompt where if a keyword appears multiple times in 20 seconds, then it just keeps the first of those and omits the other ones within that 20-second block, just so that we don't have too many appearances of a keyword in the index. Because of course you would just play the video from the first one and play it for 20 seconds and get all of the appearances anyway. So yeah, and I've also asked it within the prompt here to only provide keywords and start times, because previously it gave some pretext and it gave rationale at the end, which is very nice for me to understand what the LLM's doing, but for the end user, they don't need that. So now it's just an index where the same words, the same terms, alphabetized, you see it's audio, being cooked, and brand, and so on. And then here's the second version, audio, being cooked, and brand, and so on. But here it gives you all of the start times. So that's becoming a useful index. Finally, the last code section, code cell 4. So what this does is basically produces the output that a user would receive when using this tool. So they get the generated summary from code cell 1 again. I'll show you that in a moment. But what they also get is this index, but without the start times, which it tells you where you would skip to in the video, which is nice, but those can become clickable links. So you don't need to take this information and then search in the video for 87 seconds. You could just click on a link and it jumps you to there. So that's what I've done. YouTube actually has a system for appending a start time to the end of a URL, and then it takes you direct to that moment in the video. So I've just used that within this code. And so going on, here it is. So that was this video. Again, for reference, this video, Sound World by myself on YouTube. And so you get the summary. So imagine that as a user, I've just input a URL and this is the result that I receive. I get a quick 1-paragraph summary of what the video is about. And then I get a really useful index, alphabetized, where I can jump to any moment in the video and start from that moment in the video. So here, I don't actually have to look at the video at all. I can just input the URL and here I understand what the video is about. It's not interpretive like chapters in a YouTube video where somebody has decided what that chapter is about and created a title for it. This is what the video actually discusses as pulled from the transcript and turned into an index. So I know these terms are within the video because they were within the transcript. So for example, I'm going to use the index to jump to a moment in the video about chopping using this generated index.
You hear them chopping the pineapple. You get that feedback. And they're working on your pizza. You can hear everything that's happening.
So I know you're hearing my voice within the video, but that is actually jumping to the right moment of the video where it discusses chopping. So that's the tool. That's what it does. I know that I would use this a lot because I research a lot or I write articles or I want to learn from YouTube videos, and I find it incredibly frustrating when I have to search for search through videos to try and find relevant information. And with this tool, I can get there so much faster. I don't even have to watch the video. I can just input a URL, get a summary and an index, and instantly find out whether the video actually discusses what I want to learn. So I hope that was useful for you and you enjoyed learning about my YouTube index creator tool.